Hello, everyone. This week we're going to be reading The Smartest Kid in the Universe by Chris Grabenstein. And I'm going to go ahead and read you the blurb. What would you do if you suddenly became a genius? Jake's middle school is about to be shut down, unless Jake and his friends can figure out how to save it. But what can Jake do? He's just a regular kid. At least he is until he eats a jar of jelly beans at his mom's office. They aren't just any jelly beans, though. A scientist at his mom's conference is trying to develop the world's first ingestible knowledge pills, and that's what Jake ate. Before long, Jake is the smartest kid in the universe, but the pills haven't been tested yet, and when the word gets out about his mega IQ upgrade, people want him. The FBI, the CIA, plus some not-so-good guys. Can Jake navigate the ins and outs of his newfound geniusdom, not to mention the ins and outs of middle school, and figure out a way to save his school? Hint, it will take someone smart enough to decipher a centuries-old pirate legend. But the real question is, can he do it without losing his two best friends? It turns out that sometimes even the smartest kid has a lot to learn. Chapter 1. Patricia Malvolio, the new principal of Riverview Middle School, was giving a special after-hours tour of her building to a very important guest, Mr. Heath Huxley. "This school is in terrible condition," said Mr. Huxley. "I know," giggled Miss Malvolio. "Isn't it marvelous? It's perfect for our plans." The lockers were dented and rusty. Overhead, fluorescent lights sputtered in their tubes, pleading to be replaced. Paint peeled off the cinder-block walls in chunks the size of potato chips. "What's that smell?" asked Mr. Huxley, covering his mouth and nose with a dainty silk handkerchief. Miss Malvolio sniffed the air. She was tempted to say, "Your breath," because Mr. Huxley's never smelled minty or fresh. "Tuna fish salad?" she suggested. "Stinky cheese? Moldy pizza? It's hard to tell. The refrigerators in the cafeteria are unreliable." Miss Malvolio tugged down on the canary yellow blazer that matched her canary yellow blouse. The tugging caused her necklace, 3 rows of big multicolored beads, to clack. "Now, as I told you," she said, "Riverview is currently considered the worst middle school building in the district. Given the new budget cuts, the city will be forced to close one middle school this year, and I suspect it will be us." She led the way into her office. Mr. Huxley went to the window to admire the view of the river. "This is magnificent, Patricia." "I know. It's why this school is called Riverview." "And what will the city do when this marvelous property is shut down?" "Oh, I suppose they might auction off the land to the highest bidder." "Who will also be the smartest bidder," said Mr. Huxley, stroking back his slick black hair. "The one who understands how truly valuable this property is." "Yes, Uncle Heath," said Miss Malvolio. "They'll probably sell it to you, and then you'll pay me that very generous finder's fee we discussed when I applied for this principal position." "Indeed I will, Patricia." They both laughed maniacally. It ran in the family. Chapter 2. Jake McQuaid wasn't the smartest kid at Riverview Middle School, but he was definitely the coolest. The school itself, on the other hand, was kind of shabby. The place hadn't fallen apart all at once. If it had, people might have done something. Riverview's decline had been slow and steady. It took time and neglect. No one ever thought to repaint the cinder-block walls, or to replace the lockers, most of which were too bent out of shape to be locked anymore. "We try," Mr. Lyons would tell Jake. "We try." Mr. Charlie Lyons was the school's vice principal, social studies teacher, and the basketball coach. He'd been at Riverview for over 20 years. "But the new principal?" He shook his head. "Le zumba el mongo," as my grandfather used to say. Jake never knew what Mr. Lyons was saying when all of a sudden he dropped a little Spanish. Jake would have had to learn Spanish to do that, and 7th grader Jake McQuaid wasn't big on learning stuff. He came to school to have a good time and to hang with his friends. If he needed to actually know anything important, he could look it up on his phone. He stopped by the bathroom to check his look in a mirror. Black hair, blue eyes, and fair freckled skin. It was a good look, and lately Jake wanted to look good. Because of Grace. Grace Garcia. "How's it going?" Jake said to just about everybody he passed as he cruised up the hall. He was so cool he could chat with one friend on his cell phone while using his free hand to knock knuckles with a dozen more. Jake's best friend was Kojo Shelton. Kojo was a science geek who spent a lot of his time streaming detective shows. He called it his extra credit homework. "Because I'm going to be a detective, and when I grow up," he'd say, "I need to know forensic science and TV detectives." Recently, Kojo had stumbled upon an ancient show called Kojak on some obscure cable rerun channel. He'd been obsessed with the famous TV detective. Kojo even adopted Kojak's famous catchphrase, "Who loves ya, baby?" "We practically have the same name," he told Jake. "He's Kojak, and I'm Kojo. Of course, he's bald, old, and a Greek dude, and I'm handsome, young, black dude. But hey, we both like Tootsie Pops." "I don't," said Jake. "Too much work sucking through that hard candy shell to get to the Tootsie Roll." "For real? Jake McQuaid, you are the laziest kid in the world. You know that, right?" "We're all good at something, Kojo. Slothfulness? It's my superpower." Kojo was kind of skinny, and always wore the style of thick-rimmed glasses that couldn't get broken when you played sports. "You want to go hang in the cafeteria?" asked Jake. "I've got that new Revenge of the Brain Dead game on my phone. Mr. Keeney will never miss us." Mr. Keeney, who taught math, was Jake and Kojo's homeroom teacher. He usually spent the first 15 minutes of every school day with his feet propped up on his desk, his chair tilted back as far as it could go without tripping over, and his eyes closed. "This is homeroom," he'd said once. "If I were home, I'd still be sleeping. So keep quiet. I need a nap." "No thanks, man," Kojo told Jake. "I want to go talk to Mr. Lyons in his office. I need his help on an extra credit social studies project." "Is it about the history of this school's vice principal having his office inside an old janitor's closet complete with a mop sink?" "Nah, everybody knows the answer to that one. The boys' bathroom on the second floor leaks through the ceiling of the vice principal's office. Has for years. If Mr. Lyons used that office, his hair will be wet. All the time." "And why are you even doing another extra credit project?" "Because, Jake, even though I could get by on my looks, I prefer to be smart, too. Going for another straight A report card." Jake shrugged. "Straight C's are fine by me. You need help on your science homework?" "Nah, I need to go slay some zombies." Chapter 3. As Jake ambled along the hallways, he saw Grace Garcia hanging a poster on the wall. Jake wished there was a bathroom nearby. There wasn't. Grace, another 7th grader, was without a doubt the smartest student in the whole school. Jake also thought she was the prettiest. Of course, he'd never tell her that. "Hey," he said. "Hey," she said back. Grace was somehow related to Mr. Lyons. Her mom and dad had emigrated from Cuba during the mid-1990s. Mr. Lyons' side of the family had moved to America way earlier, but Grace still called him Uncle Charlie. "What you doing?" Jake asked. He definitely had a way with words when talking to girls. Grace nodded at the poster. "Trying to find 2 new teammates for our Quiz Bowl team. Last year, we came in 3rd. This year, we're gonna win! Comerium pan!" Jake nodded and smiled, and had no idea what Comerium pan mean. "It means, let's get this bread." Judging from the way Grace grinned when she said it, though it was probably a good thing. "I lost both my teammates from last year," Grace continued. "One got into Chumley Prep. The other transferred to Sunnybrook." "Do you have to know facts and stuff to be on the team?" asked Jake. Yeah," Grace said with a laugh. Jake nodded. "Bummer." A gigantic 8th grader named Noah No-Neck Nelson strode up the hall. "What's that for?" he said, jabbing a thumb at the poster. "Our Riverview Pirates Quiz Bowl team," Grace answered cheerfully. "A friendly but fierce competition against all the other middle schools in our district." "Quiz Bowl?" snorted Noah. "That's stupid." He lunged forward to rip the hand-painted poster off the wall, but Jake blocked his move. "Hey, Noah, speaking of bowls, you ever have one of those taco bowls at Taco Bell?" "Oh, yeah, man! Those are awesome! You can eat the bowl. It's a taco." "I know! Isn't that amazing?" "Totally. I like those bread bowls at Panera, too. With the soup inside a scooped out loaf of bread, I like any bowl you can eat. Me too, bro. Jake balled up his fist. Noah balled up his, and they knocked knuckles. Catch you later, Jake, said Noah as he strolled away. Oh, I almost forgot. You should try the meatball pizza bowl at Olive Garden. Thanks for the tip, bro, Jake called after him. No problem, man. Thank you, whispered Grace when Noah was gone. I only made the one poster. Not to be a pesado, but if Noah had ripped it up, I'd be in un lío. Yeah, said Jake, even though once again he had no idea what Grace meant. So, Grace, are you trying to teach me Spanish? She grinned. Maybe. Un poco. Don't forget, I saw your report card. You could use a little help in the foreign languages department. Hey, I got a C in French, or as they say in France, un C. Kojo came in strutting up the hall. I love it when another plan comes together, he announced, dropping another catchphrase from another ancient TV show. Guess what, Grace? Your Uncle Charlie is going to take me down to the fallout shelter for my extra credit report. Really? Said Grace. That's sort of off limits. This school has a fallout shelter? Said Jake. Uh-huh, said Kojo. From the 1960s. You know, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Mr. Lyon's grandfather was the custodian back then and told him all about it. The entrance is in the custodian's closet. Kojo squinted at the quiz bowl poster. You doing that again? Definitely, said Grace. Put me down as a maybe, said Kojo. I have to check my schedule. They're streaming Columbo reruns on the Sleuth channel this month. The bell rang for first period. Well, it kind of clanged like an alarm clock somebody had knocked to the floor one too many times. That meant it was time for homeroom. Let me know if you can be on the team, Kojo, said Grace, hurrying off to class. You'd be awesome. Will do. Kojo and Jake headed in the opposite direction to Mr. Keeney's class. You really might join the quiz bowl team? Asked Jake. Sure, if you know it doesn't interfere with my basketball, my extra credit social studies project, or my TV shows. When you make it to the top academically, like Grace and I have, Jake, you need to send the elevator back down for the other folks. I have no idea what that means, Kojo. It means if you're smart, you have to help people like you who, aren't so, academically gifted. Gee, thanks, Kojo. Hey, who loves you, baby? Are you gonna keep saying that all day? I might, baby. I might. Okay, so that's gonna be the end for this installment, and I hope you liked it, and I hope you have a good weekend. Bye, everyone!